And that vision is I need to grow so I can compete against some of the big boys. I know I will never have their buying power, but if I can get part of it and get some of that scale, some of those rooftops that I can spread some of those costs across, then that's where I get the benefit for it. And in fairness again, you know, when we started Ridgeway, it was 2 sites and a 13 million turnover business that we grew over that 18 years. And I really enjoy that part of the business.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the AM News Show. Joining us today are John O'Hanlon of Waylands Automotive and Umesh Samani of Specialist Cars. Both John and Umesh are members of our Automotive Management Live Advisory Board, a group of dealers who come together to share their thoughts on how we can make the event more valuable, I guess, for people in the industry to spend their day at the NEC. So thank you for participating in that, both of you. We're not long till the show now, November the 11th at the NEC. Are you looking forward to it? Is it always a good event that you look forward to and you get something from? John, perhaps you for a start?
Oh, absolutely, Tim. We are closing in. It'll be great to actually be physical again. But it's always something I have looked forward to. It always brings together a great list of speakers. And I think the way that you've set it up with the inspirational zone this year will really, really help. So yeah, there'll be a lot of familiar faces, but I think there's 1 or 2 faces this year that people will really benefit from seeing and hearing from.
Okay. And Umesh, do you get much from the show? I know I've bumped into you a number of times over the years at Automotive Management Live.
Absolutely, as John said, I think it's a great event. It's good to be there, and again, the fact that we're all physically going to be seeing each other, talk to each other. But I think the speakers is what it's all about. To me, I go there for the speakers. I mean, to pick up little golden nuggets of what's been happening, what's going on, maybe the future, what's coming along. And those are the things I think people really need to understand. It's not just a display of partners, suppliers, whatever it may be, but actually what you get from sitting in those sessions.
Absolutely. John, you've already mentioned the Inspiration Theatre. It's a new feature for us this year. And as you said, we've got some headline speakers there. Kevin Gaskell, who we are particularly proud to have along as a industry figure and also an adventurer, a serial entrepreneur. What do you think people coming along to AM Live will get out of kind of hearing from Kevin?
Kevin is incredibly frustrating, because he is such an incredible individual, and he makes me really wonder what I did with my life. He's worked with a couple of great businesses in terms of BMW and Porsche. He's set up many others really, really successfully. But much more than that, it's what he's done outside of just automotive and business. He's climbed Everest. He's been to both poles, jumping out of planes, diving. It's just a litany of great experiences. I won't let anything out the bag. I've seen him speak before, but it's much more than that. It's some of the smaller things he does, some of the things he does round about people that I think people will pick up and buy into. So no, I've heard him before. He is fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him again at AM Live.
Good. I think his session is about kind of leading and managing people through change, which, given everything that's going on in the industry this decade, is perfectly apt at the moment. And following on from Kevin, we have Artis Milskin from Boston Consulting, who's talking about EVs. I mean, interested, Umesh, from an independence perspective, obviously you as a founder of the IMDA, is the kind of change in the industry coming to EVs one of the things that independents are worried about now or focusing on now, or is it a bit further along for them yet?
I think the independents are worried about it. I think probably some of the franchise dealers are as well, in all fairness. I think it's something which hasn't taken off as fast as we all anticipated. There's a big push on at the moment to say, look, we need to get the EVs out there. But I think the training, the backup, the amount of volume which is going to be coming through for the independents is going to be so small. So the independents, most of them are thinking, do we need to start investing or do we just hold fire till we're forced into that situation? Because again, every manufacturer, every dealer, I think they're not selling big numbers of EVs, as we know. So again, I think even some of the franchise dealers are probably thinking, we have to do it, part of the standards. But in reality, when's payback time? Because you can't just keep chucking money at it. So I think it's a big threat, but I think it's quite a number of years before I think the independents really start worrying and panicking about it. Because in reality, a lot of the cars, if needs be, you could just send the car to the main dealer, get it serviced, maintained, whatever it needs to be. Because you can't invest in every manufacturer's EV equipment, can you really?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a challenge, which I think we're a number of years away, in my opinion. Could be wrong,
It's really interesting, Paul, because I think for franchise dealers, it's now. It's for, I think our brands not only recognise it and they need to because of some of the fines that they face, but also I think the environmental piece is really increasing. And we had the red alert for the globe, we've got COP26. Suddenly, you've got to stop eating red meat and drive an EV. Those are the two big messages that keep coming out. So it does feel for franchise dealers that we need to be aware of it. And the work I do with the NFDA and EVA, and that's been really, really beneficial. And I think every dealer should be grabbing onto it. But I understand you're a little bit further down in terms of when it'll arrive in.
Do you guys go to AM Live with something in particular in mind that you really want to hear about? I mean, EV is clearly high up on the agenda. Do you search out certain things that you want to learn about, or are you going with an open mind and you might just saunter into a seminar and discover something that you'd not expected to find?
Oh, there's a vision of saunter as we go around.
Everybody saunters at the NEC.
I stride it. Well, from my perspective, it's just very. I look at. There's a couple of things that I do want to see. So the Kevin Gaskell is one. I'll make the time in the day, and then it's the opportunity to actually catch up because everyone's there. And you've got a lot of very senior guys from a lot of our suppliers who are there, and it just gives you a chance to get a little bit of face time again with those people. So I will spend just some time in the hall sauntering around just to see who I can find on the way through.
Absolutely. I think it's very similar. I think I've got a couple of things which I want to go and see, but the issue starts as soon as you walk into there, you recognise somebody wants to talk to you, and all of a sudden, if you're not careful, the day gets taken over and you're meeting everybody, which is great, but then you actually just miss the event that you really want to see sometimes. But that's life, isn't it? Really, but yeah, I do try to plan to see a couple of things on there.
But I think it's as important, and it's also sometimes a great excuse just to say I've got to go and see, and actually get away. And you've got to make sure that you do manage your time, because it is only a day.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people you've
only got one chance on the day, haven't you? Really? Yes. Yeah.
I suppose one of the things that's been a feature of AM Live as well since we started it was the heavy sort of digital presence, the digital theatre that we have, which again is back again this year. Do you find that digital marketing and kind of omni-channel retailing moves on so quickly that actually there are new things to learn every year from the sessions that we put on?
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
I say there's three big things affecting my world at the moment. It's how are dealers rewarded, electrification, and digital. And we're working really hard. We're investing quite heavily in our digital offering, and some of that is to take on the people who affect my world in terms of the Kazoos and the Cinches, but also it's to meet customer demand. Nobody wants to fill in a form on a website anymore. So it's live chat, it's phone, it's making sure that we are omni-channel in terms of how you go from that blend of however a customer wants to pick up. And that's been a lot of time, a lot of effort. We've actually created a head of digital sales because we need someone to actually pick that up and take it on. And it is fast moving. The world is ever changing. And there's a few things we can hang our hat on in terms of what does the basics that great look like. But yeah, sometimes you do have to sniff the air and just have a little look what's happening. You don't have to do everything, but you do have to understand what's available. And, that's where we spend a lot of time listening at these sort of events.
I think digital, as we know, I think that's anybody not doing digital marketing, they'll be out of business, won't they? If not already, as simple as that, really. And as John just said, I think we've all got to respond to customers how they want it. So if it's an email, respond by email. If it's a live chat, if it's Facebook, whatever it is. I think there's so many channels, and that's the worrying thing, is how do you monitor every single channel? It's frustrating sometimes. The other day somebody's trying to have a conversation on a live chat with me. I'm thinking, pick the phone up. It's easier. I can answer this within 2 seconds. And they're there. They've either got slow internet or they're going one finger, But it's frustrating. But that's the way that they want to communicate. So be it. I've got to respond that way. As simple as that, isn't it, really? So I think that there's so many different ways that people like to be communicated with. And we've just got to not get frustrated and angry about it. It's just like, if that's the way you want to talk to me, be it live chat, be it telephone, email, whatever, just go with it.
I guess you and many other IMDA members just never foresaw the fact that you become a car dealer. You've got to now be a marketing expert as well, haven't you? And you're constantly on your device, whatever that might be. I
think I've always said that it's tougher for us small independents because John's got his team there. They've got marketing, advertising, after sales, whatever it may be. A lot of the independents, we do everything. And I think that's why the IMDA originally sort of started as a case of we wanted to help all the dealers, because none of us can do everything, especially when the lockdown was on there. Trying to get all the legal information from the government, what was usable for the dealers, what was junk, really. I mean, you've got 20 pages and you might only want to see 2 lines out of it. Yeah. So we did all this for the IMDA dealers to help them out. So listen, guys, don't go through wading all that. This is what you need. This is what you need. So it made it a lot easier for them. So this is, again, trying to help the dealers to say, listen, we're here to help you be more efficient, work better, instead of wasting so much time. But like any business out there, some dealers take it on board 100% and others just make excuses not to. But it's their choice at the end of the day, isn't it, really?
Yeah, because you've not only got to do it, you've got to do it well. And that's the point. It's got to be relevant to the customer, which is your point, responding to how that customer. But we found, and it was really interesting when you go into what you do and you start lifting the drains and having a look. Some of it was really average, but it's better that I found that out before more of our prospects, more of our potential customers actually try to interact with us that way. And we have, it's been blood, sweat and tears. And I think that the point is a good one, Umesh, in terms of scale. And it's a little bit easier when you've got more scale. And that's, I guess, part of the challenge that we have on an ongoing basis. You can give timely, relevant, absolute specific answers, and we've got to find a way of being able to give that level of service, but just on a bigger,
absolutely,
a bigger field.
Yeah, and the undoubtedly going to be a lot of suppliers at AM Live who, want to be able to help you facilitate that, aren't there? Is it you expect to meet these people at events like this, don't you? Digital marketing suppliers and things like that. Is it important just to have that quick chat and perhaps pick up that nugget of information while you're on your way sauntering round?
Yeah, I think absolutely, and it's one of the things. It's everything from digital marketing to coffee machines. That is the absolute joy of it, and it's just people grabbing you for 2 minutes. And some of it, it's polite, it's interesting. Others, actually, I didn't know that, or someone does know it, but not me. And actually, I want to go and then find out a little bit more about it. And some of our supplier relationships have came from just going around seeing something that I either didn't know about, or it wasn't as far up my tick list as it could have or should have been. So it's a couple of hours to actually just have a little temperature test on what's happening. And as I say, the other couple of hours is catching up with some of those faces that and actually you've not spent as much time with over the last couple of years, whereas previously you would have done.
Because really, the technology employed now, particularly at a franchise dealer group, is pretty astounding, don't you think? Again, going back to all the different channels that customers can contact you on, you need to be monitoring. But we're now starting to see kind of some levels of AI coming through to support that, whether that's a good thing or not. I'd
Well,
be interested in your opinions.
when I said if we could do what Umesh does, that would be a great place to be, because actually bots, we get so many questions. We've now set up a digital sales team. We offer 8 till 10. You'll talk to a real Waylands person. And we've actually worked really hard at building that. We've used the apprenticeship scheme, and it's really working for us, because that question you get, are you a bot? You know, it just, people are not trusting of it. And we can see the level of conversion when one of our digital sales team interacts with the customer versus when a bot and then into a call centre deals with it. It's phenomenal. 6-7 times more effective. And those are the numbers that really begin to perk my interest, because it is a big investment, but when you see the return and that quantum, so that's where, again, yes, there is so much out there, but you've got to pick what your winners are and then concentrate and do it really, really well. Because you can get caught up in so much hype, and I've seen, and maybe I'm getting too old.
John, no, I think
the dinosaurs are coming to rule the earth.
I've got a few more grey hairs, but I do agree with you about getting caught up in the hype sometimes. I think there's too many people out there trying to sell you all the hype, and in reality, 50% might not even be useful to your business, my business, whoever it might be. But I think, just going back to what Tom was saying earlier on, at the event, to see all the suppliers out there, probably see a little bit easier for me, because if somebody rings up, I can sort of decide over the phone if I want to see that product, service, whatever it may be. More difficult for John, because obviously different layers on there. But sometimes I think time-wise we dismiss something, whereas if I'm walking around the hall, I might just see something and think, oh, didn't know that existed. And that couple of minutes might be the best couple of minutes I've spent, because I'm thinking that, you know, after a couple of minutes of talking about that could be the best thing for me, for my services, my product, for all the IMDA dealers and so forth. So I think it's just nice to wander about sometimes, because I think sometimes some of these suppliers, they keep it secret to themselves, or they might just pitch to the franchise dealers and forget the independents. There's a lot of independents out there that forget about the little guys like us, and we could be the best thing they could be in contact with. So I think they ought to sort of spend a bit more time out there. But just wondering about there is great. But I think going back to, again, John saying, you know, get rid of the bots. I always try to reverse myself into how I want to be treated. Doesn't matter if I'm selling a car or whatever. But again, so if you ask a question at 9 o'clock at night and you get a bot answer, you're thinking, after a couple of questions, thinking, wasting my time. Yeah. You actually get a genuine answer back, which I've replied at 9 o'clock at night, sometimes on a live chat or something. 2 minutes later, there's a deposit come through on a car. Bing, job done. So it's just a little, might be a quick question, might be a confidence question, might be anything. It's just the way you react back, isn't it, really? But, you know, if John's investing in more people to do it live, Waylands Group, you know, then... And
it can sometimes be those silly little questions. You know, does this car have privacy glass? You sort of think, well, there's so many pictures of it, but nevertheless, if that's what the customer wants to know, that's what the customer wants to know, and you're quite right. The number then will place a deposit because they've had a strong interaction that's relevant to what they want, and that's where we need to take on. That's another area that we can be better than the competition, and we've just got to be that little bit better than our competition in everything that we do, and we'll have a successful business.
That's interesting, because all the talk over the years that I've been on AM about people buying online, even now the people who buy online still want somebody there who they can answer the question that they really want to know before they might click that button. They may then do everything else completely online, but knowing that there is somebody behind the scenes who can help you.
Well, I think you've got a combination of factors. You've got some people who will buy online, you know, soup to nuts online, and actually they've now got more choice of where to go. But what Akazoo and Accenture have done have given a huge wake-up call to every dealer in the country to get their digital strategy up to speed. There's a lot of customers we've trained to buy in a certain way. You know, you've got generations of customers who have bought cars by walking in to a showroom. And I think, again, that's not going to change. And then you've got customers in the middle who want to do a lot of the research on there, but still want to have the reassurance. And that's why there's always going to be a place, certainly in my lifetime for dealers, independent or franchise, because people want that human touch. They need to trust. They need to have that information.
I mean, I still think, maybe I'm wrong, but I still think 65-70% of the people will still want feel, touch, smell. Maybe I'm wrong. People telling me I need to move ahead with the digital, but I have been selling with digital. I sell cars. I have done for years now. There's testimonial on my website from 12 years ago where a customer rang me. He's in London. His mother's in Cornwall. I'm in Stoke-on-Trent. And he said, I've got a problem. I said, what's your problem? He said, you've got the car. I'm in London.
Yeah.
Mother's in Cornwall. I said, well, that's not a problem. We can deliver it to her. You pay me, work the cost out. And I've got a fantastic testimonial as 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Where the car got delivered, and he actually did this testimony saying the car was absolutely fantastic. It was easy, it was quick, job done. So the likes of Cinch and Kazoo, because that seems to be the hot topic at the moment, I think they've pushed the dealers of home delivery, click and deliver, all that, to the forefront of the customers to say, you can do this in confidence. But I think where the dealers are stronger, where I think that every dealer's panicking, of course, they're going to lose some market share, no question. Yet I'd be fooled to say we're not. But we've still got a major, major benefit. If Mr. Customer is there on the website, he looks at Cinch or Kazoo or whatever, looks at the cars, and he wants a little bit more information, he'll ring a call centre possibly. Call centre's location A, cars in B, they're in C. So the customer says, tell me more about that Volvo, for example. Sorry, John, Volvo, they're selling Volvos as well.
Not too many, thanks.
So they can't describe the car. They can't tell them anymore. All they'll do is say, go back to the website. The customer says, well, I've actually been on the website. I've seen your 20 pictures or whatever, and I've seen where you've measured up the scratches and marks, whatever on there. Tell me some more. And they can't because they can't see it. They ring me, they ring one of John's teams, and they'll say, no problem, Mr. Customer. The car's in front of me. I'll tell you chapter and verse on it. I'll even send you a personalised video of this car. Guess where the customer's going to buy that car from? The dealers like me and John. No question. So I don't think we need to be scared of the big boys. Yes, they are going to take market share, no question whatsoever. But we've just got to be that little bit extra, a little bit better. We do the videos, we do better pictures. We just market ourselves better. And there'll be a voice there that can help them about that vehicle. Simple as that, really.
I suppose a lot of what we're talking about is, the drawbacks and the benefits of scale, and I guess the desire of scale to still replicate that, independent, relationship, face to face, hands on. And Umesh was talking to us before about his business and how he'd taken the decision quite early on to stay as a single site, independent, and really take control of him. At the time, I was thinking, John's taking on this big new group and he's developing that, and that looks like an awful lot of hard work. And the more we're talking about it, the more I'm thinking, Umesh has got to be up all hours with his phone strapped to his ear. Who's got the easier gig, Umesh?
No, I'll tell you what, no, a lot of people think I work 24/7. I don't actually. I'm in very early, 7 o'clock most mornings I'm there. Always have been, early bird, even in my old Volkswagen Audi days.
Photographing the cats, browsing the cars.
Of course, when the cat's there doing the rounds, I've got to catch it. Most days, 6 o'clock, I'm locked up and gone home. Simple as that. I close on Sundays. I make the time when I'm there useful.
Mm-hmm.
There's excuse me. There's many dealers who'll sit there and moan and whinge and say it's quiet, I can't do this, whatever. I'm actively there doing my videos, my pictures, social media, whatever it needs to be. And I cram all that into those hours. Yes, the phone's on. If somebody wants a live chat at 9 o'clock, I'll do it. But it's my choice if I decide to respond or not. I'm not tied to it. So that's the way I look at it, But certainly, it'd be nice to be in John's place, up there, just delegate. But no. We're control freaks. I'm a control freak, but I love what I do. That's to me, it's not a job, it's not a work or whatever. I love what I do. That's why I'm there early. That's why I'm there, and I do what I do. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. And you've been tapping into. You mentioned you tapped into sort of apprentices and things to try and keep that communication centre open until 10 o'clock in the evening. Is a fantastic feat. How do you ensure that these people that are on that call centre have got the knowledge and the communication skills?
It's not a big team. It's four people going to 5 people, and it's actually given them the training and absolutely given them that full sheep dip into the business. So they don't sit; they actually sit within the businesses. They move around, but that's the joy of it. They're actually there, seeing the cars, touching the cars, driving the cars. So yeah, they're part of a training regime in terms of their college work. But the benefit that we just get it back in spades by actually having them in the business. And it's great to see, the youngsters absolutely excited. And that's why, I think having that sort of inspiration round about the business, with Alana, with Ollie, who are actually really excited to every day they come in to what they can do and how they can do it. And that's the part where, it's different challenges, but I didn't have to come back in. And I do it.
No,
I do
absolutely.
it because
that shows, John. You can see.
I was in a little trade parts counter unit 5 minutes ago. He said, "Oh, defensively, it's only November 2017," and that's the part where, in terms of you make choices, and that's what Umesh wants to stay small. I've got a different vision. That vision is I need to grow so I can compete against some of the big boys. I know I will never have their buying power, but if I can get part of it and get some of that scale, some of those rooftops that I can spread some of those costs across, then that's where I get the benefit for it. And in fairness, again, when we started Ridgeway, it was 2 sites and a 13 million turnover business that we grew over that 18 years. And I really enjoy that part of the business. Actually getting out, buying, consolidating, trying to dominate the local area for what we do, and then doing it again, and actually having the opportunity to bring in some fantastic people and then see what they can do. Because, I can't do it all. I would hate to see myself on one of those, back to the floor things. I have never sold a car. Technically, I was an accountant that came in the trade and worked my way through there. But I do feel I can judge people, and actually surrounding myself with the best people I can is what makes the DNA at Waylands work.
I love the idea of a sheep dip. That's a great metaphor, and we should have used that for the AM Live marketing. Frankly, everyone that comes through the AM Live door gets a sheep dip in future of car retail. Send them on the way.
You will. But I think it's fantastic, George. As you say, I think having that accounts background, I think that's where your strength is, the scalability of it. Yeah, it's understanding numbers, isn't it? And I think that's the biggest problem. And I think a lot of independents like me, and not speaking for all independents, there'll be a lot much wiser than me. But I think because I suppose we've come through the ground floor, sometimes we don't see the bigger vision, we don't understand the bigger numbers at an earlier stage. So had we done that, most of us might have grown faster, whatever. And I think this is, again, going back to the IMDA, this is where we have this hub of trying to support each other to say, it's great to see so many young faces coming in, setting up dealers, but they've also got to be careful they don't run before they can walk, because they want to see the success up there and they think it's so easy. And yes, we can all go and borrow money and whatever, but it's got to be paid back into somehow or other, and that's the bigger thing that some of them don't understand. They want the fancy quick cars and whatever. So again, this is how we're trying to support the smaller dealers to listen. This is where some expertise, a lot of grey area. We'll chuck information at you. What you do with it is up to you, but we're trying to help you guys. But it's just trying to have that vision of where they want to be, and the long-term picture, really. Yeah.
Take help where you can find it, I guess. Any advice and help?
Because I think, as end of the day, as long as both of you are happy with your businesses and what you are doing, then that's job done, isn't it? Really, and I get what you said, Umesh, about people coming in and starting business and maybe growing too quick. We've seen some instances of that in the last kind of decade or so. Sometimes on the franchise side, I think, where a manufacturer's perhaps pushed them to buy up other businesses really quickly. There's one example that last couple of years has changed quite a significant management team, which had grown very quickly with a Japanese brand, and then got its fingers burnt. And it's that balance, isn't it, of running your own business, growing it as to your own kind of heart's desire, but also with some people, it's knowing when to stop,
Yes.
I guess, really, and when to be happy with the toy box that you've got.
Yeah, and I think with manufacturers, it's very sad because over the years you see so many smaller family-run businesses who've been forced to sort of either expand or lose a franchise. So they've made the wrong decision sometimes. There's quite a few in Stoke-on-Trent, sadly, who were forced into buying the next territory and the next territory, and they're not strong enough in whichever way to make it work for them. And sadly, long-established businesses have had to shut the doors, or be sold out to bigger groups, just the way the manufacturers want it. It's simple as that, really, and that's the thing, manufacturers dictate. Doesn't matter if it's your business or not, they dictate the future, don't they, really? If all of a sudden your face fits, great. If your face doesn't fit, all of a sudden we want you to sell. And if you don't...
I think but I think you've got to understand we're just franchisees.
Absolutely.
For the brand.
Yeah.
I've always said that it's their pitch. We get to run around with the ball occasionally and score a couple of goals. But you've just got to understand it's a partnership, but you've got a senior partner.
Yes.
Even for the biggest groups in the country, they've got to understand where we sit. Now, that's not to say that a great manufacturer, a great brand, will not have fantastic relationships and work in what's best for dealerships. And, Volvo and Kia, we can feel that already. You've got a brand that wants to interact. And that's what gives you the confidence to invest further. But you're absolutely right, Tim. It's got to be at the right time for your business. And, one of the little terms I throw out is we will, flow purposefully with our brands. So if they're doing things right, great. We will surf that wave. If they're not doing things right, and very quietly and very respectfully, we'll go and have a conversation. Now, that might be about an opportunity, like ones you're talking about, or it might just be some tactical. We're not getting enough money, or another brand's moved. But it's being able to have those conversations is much more important to me now, and that's with the brands I'm now working with on the way through. That's been important that I can have those conversations. We're still finding our way with MG, but all the brands I'm working with, there is EV there, but it's all people that I respect and I want to work with.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, hopefully there's lots of conversations to be had at AM Live. I think that's the crux of what we've got to, whether it's supplier advice or fellow dealers, and it's a good opportunity to get in front of people, and looking forward to it.
Be good to get face to face with lots of people again, won't it?
Absolutely. We'll leave it now. Leave it for there for now, chaps, and get a coffee, and we'll come back in for an individual chat with you both. If that's all right.
Sure.
Brilliant.
Great stuff.
Thank
you very much.
Thanks.
Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel with Armchair Marketing to follow us, or head to the AM website to do so also. We'll be back every month with news, insight and further interviews from the automotive sector.